Michael,
Drake, what's up, buddy?
what's up? How are you, sir? Happy Tuesday.
Thank you very much. I'm great.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it, Michael. Well, yeah, thanks for taking some time, man. I mean, just how are things with you? How have you been enjoying the break, the start of the year? Just how's life and the Bisping life right now?
Yeah. I mean, I would say a break, but I've just been traveling the bloody world. I've been all over the place. I was in England for a little bit. Then I had a little filming project in Tbilisi, Georgia. I got back 2 days ago. I got to Vegas tomorrow. Then I'm home for 2 days, and I go to Sydney. It never ends, my friend.
Yeah, staying very busy, but I'm sure you like it that way, right? You don't want to get too
Yeah,
complacent.
no, of course. I start freaking out if I'm sitting on my ass for 2 or 3 days. I start thinking the world's all collapsing. Yeah, no, I'm good, man.
It might be collapsing regardless, but we gotta hang in there the best we can. That's
Exactly.
cool.
Oh,
That's
yeah, maybe.
That's cool though. You did some filming in Georgia because I saw what you were hanging out with Marab and stuff, and it looked like that you were just catching up with them, but that was a part of work stuff also, like a project you have.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, it was filming a TV show for Abu Dhabi TV, actually. Yeah, so I was only out there a few days, but as it happened, it was Marab's birthday party, so he very kindly invited me out there. So that was cool to go to. It was quite a cultural experience. I got a real deep dive into the Georgian culture. There was a lot of dancing and toasting and amazing food. It was my first time in Georgia. I got to say, the people out there are just fantastic, and the food is ridiculous. Hopefully, I'll be back there one day soon.
Yeah, I know. I've heard it's pretty amazing over there, and of course the culture and the people. So, a recommendation you would recommend checking it out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Check it out. Pretty cold though, so
Right.
make sure you bring a warm coat.
Of course, of course. And I'm assuming based off your Instagram stories last night, Michael, that you failed dry January.
No. It was just a little joke.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You gotta live your life. You know what I
Right,
mean?
of course.
I don't go in for all these social media trends. You know what I'm saying? It's funny. I've been doing a few of these interviews
You
with
were raw dogging, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, we'll give it a go, but whatever. You got to get through your day.
Yes, exactly.
Listen, I work out every single goddamn day. Okay. I run 3 miles. I lift weights. I take care. I stretch. I sauna. I ice bath. I eat a great diet. If I can't have a little glass of wine in the evening, then what the hell is happening?
Exactly. No, I fully
And it's
agree,
good
man.
for the heart.
Yeah, I know.
So they say.
So they say, yeah, still kicking. So love it, man. Very fun, very fun. And yeah, so here we are, Michael. I mean, UFC back. Finally, that break felt longer than like the past couple years, of course, transitioning to Paramount and all that stuff. But I'm curious for you, man, as we get ready for fight week here, like. How have things kind of changed? Have they changed much for you in terms of your roles going into the Paramount era, or is it like mostly the same, different people? Kind of break this down for me.
Yeah, no, it's still just business as usual. I mean, the UFC have always controlled the production. They've always been very adamant about that because they want the feel of the product to be exactly the same for the viewers. So they've always controlled it, whether it was back in Spike TV, Fox, ESPN, or now on Paramount. So I'm still dealing with the same people. And so it's still just business as usual. Of course, there's some new talent coming on board, and we're having a dinner on Thursday night to kind of just grease the wheels and to everyone get to know each other a little bit. We're all very very excited though. I mean, this is truly the next step in the evolution of the sport. It's going to be so many more eyeballs on it. Of course, pay per view is no longer a thing. So people haven't got to stump up whatever it was, 79.99, whatever, to tune in. Now it's going to cost you $90 to be a fan for an entire year, which is insane. It really is. And to think that the sport has come this far, if you think back, in the early days, it wasn't even allowed on pay per view. Now it's on Paramount Plus and CBS Sports. So it's an incredible moment for the sport.
You mentioned Spike TV there, and I'm curious, like for you specifically, man, is it kind of crazy going from the Ultimate Fighter days when you were getting in the UFC, and then to kind of it's a little bit full circle-ish, with Paramount, like coming back this way, obviously in a bigger scale and all that. But does it feel kind of kind of bizarre. Like time's a flat circle that way.
Yeah, yeah. I remember because in the UK, it used to be on a very niche channel called Bravo, which nobody
Okay.
watched, which I don't even think even exists in the UK anymore. So yeah, it was wild. But now, yeah, to see it out here, I mean, I'm at the CBS offices right now in LA. I just went on their morning show, and just the exposure that it gets, and just I'm so happy, not for me, for these fighters and the opportunities that they're having these days, because I know firsthand, obviously, how hard this path is. It's a very, very tough path, and it requires everything you have. You can't do multiple things at the same time. And for some fighters, it doesn't work out. So for the ones that are truly gifted and that do put the work in and get the success and can make it to the UFC and make a career, it's truly just going to make it so much more worthwhile. There's going to be more eyeballs, there's going to be more opportunities, more sponsorships, bigger paydays. So it's just huge for the UFC and, of course, for the fighters and the fans as well.
So would you say that's probably the most exciting thing for you about the transition is the exposure element, or is maybe something else kind of stand out with the whole move?
Yeah, no, it's the exposure. I mean, obviously for the fans, they haven't got to, I mean, when you think about it, a lot of people used to have to get together and like share the cost of the
Right.
pay-per-views and stuff like that. I mean, times are tough, but now, listen, with the subscription charge being so cheap, there's going to be so many more people watching this. I'm expecting the viewership to go through the absolute roof, and we're going to get some incredible fights. I mean, I don't know. This is just me spitballing. I haven't spoken to any UFC officials or anything like that, but like, we might start getting title fights on fight nights and
Right.
things like that because they haven't got to keep them exclusively to the pay-per-view. So I don't know. I mean, it's still early days. We haven't even had the first event yet,
Yeah.
but I think we're going to see a lot of exciting changes over the years. And I'm just excited to get back to work because, as you say, it's been a long 6 weeks.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I think that's one of the more interesting elements, though, that you bring up, though, is the fact that pay per view has gone not just for the fan perspective, but like from a fighter and champion perspective, right? Because yourself being in that role, man, I can't believe it was like 10 years ago now, not to make us feel old here.
Wild. I know. It's true.
But the pay-per-view points and how that affected fighters so much and the bigger stars, and now that's going away, and Connor kind of touched on it briefly, what, I think a week or so ago. But like for you, man, having been affected by that at the height of your career, like how much do you think that affects things for the bigger stars who made good pay-per-view money?
Yeah, so I saw that Dana said recently, he said that he never went into
Right.
details, but they do kind of have an equation or an algorithm for how that's going to work. And I think it's going to, they have a great way of tracking that, who brings in the numbers, who the big stars are, who are driving, the viewers to tune in, and those people will be rewarded. I think overall, the base level pay is going to go up for everybody. And I think the champions are going to be rewarded. I think it's going to be better for everybody involved. I mean, it was funny when I was fighting compared to like the pioneers that I looked at, and it's crazy. People call me a pioneer, but I looked at people that came before me, and their paydays weren't very good. And then compared to them, I was earning an absolute fortune. Well, now I know for a fact that these guys now at the top of the sport are generating millions and millions of dollars per fight, and it's just fantastic to see. And even across the board, the lower level guys, they're all making a great living out of this now. So yeah, I don't know, and as I say, you probably saw it. Dana never
Yeah.
went into any
Hmm.
details, but they do have a system in place to where this will all be figured out, and I'm sure nobody's going to be complaining.
Right. I mean,
You know,
theoretically, I think you could think about it being beneficial in the sense of like you look at the pay per view format and the pay per view points and all that, where maybe in this case, now that we're entering, you won't have to. I mean, of course, you want to sell your fights and all that, right? But like, it won't be as essential to your maximum, profit type of thing, if that makes sense.
yeah. What you say to like fighters are going to be going out there and you know, I'm
Cejudo,
talking
and
about
maybe I could call out
yes.
Cejudo.
I don't know. I wouldn't be so sure. Fighters by nature, we kind of have a. I mean, if you look at George St. Pierre,
Mhm.
very nice buttoned up guy. He's got a little bit of a psycho side to him. I know for a fact. So like, you put two fighters in on a stage, in a cage, next to each other, and they know that they're going to fight.
Hmm.
I think you're always going to see some kind of entertainment because the reality is that the trash talk element of it, it's psychological warfare as well. You know, like anytime when I was talking to my opponents and like kind of ridiculing them, yes, I was trying to sell the fight to a certain degree, but I was also trying to remind my opponents of every time they lost, I'm trying to just impose my will and say, listen, I'm better than you and I'm going to beat the crap out of you. Remember when such and such beat you? I smoked him, mate. What do you think I'm going to do to you? And when I would get in front of them and at the weigh-ins, I would get in their faces of to let them know, hey, listen, tomorrow night, when I get locked in a cage with you, this is real, buddy, and I am coming for your head. You know what I'm saying? So, and at that time, I wasn't thinking about pay-per-view points or
Right.
anything like that. I was thinking about winning the fight. That is the first and foremost, the biggest motivation. Because guess what? Losing a fight, it's not like losing a football game. Yeah, you go home, you lost a football game. Oh well, or whatever. I'll be back on the field in a few days. You lose a fight, you might come round in the hospital. You know what I'm saying? And it's embarrassing. So I don't think that is going to matter one little bit.
Yeah, very fair points, man. Yeah, you gotta get the win to worry about everything else first. So
Exactly.
great logic there, man. But you mentioned hospitals, unfortunately, and champions. I want to talk to you about too, Bisping, because Tom Aspinall, a guy who I know you're familiar with, of course, and kind of crazy. I didn't put this connection really together until getting ready to speak with you, but like the man's suffering eye issues right now after the last fight, unfortunately. And of course, you've had your own experience with those and being close to him, man. Like, hasn't been looking good, unfortunately, since his fight. But like, man, just what have you made of the whole controversy kind of around? Well, the fact that there's even a controversy, I think, is kind of silly. But just
Yeah.
everything that's been happening with Tom, how somebody in his spot should go about, eye issues, having had your own experience and gotten through it. But
Mhm.
like, I think people have really disrespected the value of vision the past couple
Yeah.
months, right?
Yeah. So this is what I said because remember at the time he was saying that he couldn't see, and so
Yeah.
that caused the fan base to all turn and be like, "What are you doing? We all know you never say you can't see," and I understand that. That's true. You don't say that unless you can't actually
Right.
see. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's
yeah.
like, hold on, like it's a little bit blurry or whatever, but I'll be okay. You don't say that. But if you can't see, if your vision is compromised so much that you can't see, I think you're allowed to say, I can't see, guys. Hold on a minute. Because we all saw how deep those fingers went in. So, excuse me. The MMA fan base are very passionate. And they're also somewhat, certainly on Twitter, a little bit toxic at times as well. But that's just a sign of the growth of the sport. You know what I mean? So you just got to block out all of that noise. Sadly, from what I understand, I think he might have had surgery in one eye and may require it in the other eye. I was just talking to someone else about this. The main thing is take your time. You cannot rush this. That's what I did. I detached my retina, and I was eager to get back in there. I wanted to get back in as soon as possible. So when they said I could return, I was sparring hard, and I remember the night that my retina redetached. Someone else broke their hand on my forehead. I detached the retina. Someone else bloody blew a knee out. If that's not a sign that we were sparring too hard, I don't know what is.
Yeah, maybe a little.
But then I rushed back again. I rushed back again. So you got to take your time. You've got to respect the process. Listen to the doctors. So sadly for him, because he's been waiting around a little bit on the sidelines due to the whole Jones escapade, if you will. Looks like he might be sitting around for a little bit longer. So yeah, just take your time. He's still a young man.
Yeah.
He's got plenty of time.
But even with that in mind, though, Michael, like, do you think there's any fear from his perspective? Like, I don't know how much you've been speaking to him throughout this whole thing, but fear of, like, it seems crazy to possibly strip him while he's recovering and all that. But, like, would that be something that would go through your mind if you were in the exact same position?
I don't think I mean, stripping him would be a little bit crazy. I think you can't strip someone because he gets poked in the eye and then requires eye surgery. There would be a potential for an interim belt.
Right.
I think that would be the situation. If he can't return and there's no timeline within the next couple of months, I think maybe those discussions would start. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if maybe there's already been discussions. I don't know. I'm not saying that I know anything. I'm just purely assuming that. But having been in that situation when I was the champion, I remember I was shooting a movie in Thailand and Dana was talking to me about a fight and I needed surgery on my knee. And I sent him a photo of my knee and it was swollen out here. And his words were, "Holy shit." He was like, "Wow." I said, "Yeah, I need surgery." And he said, "Well, we're going to have to do an interim title in the meantime." And I was like, "Yeah, no problem." Because when you come back, it's then champion versus champion, and it makes that fight even bigger. So I think, in my humble opinion, I think ultimately, if there is much more of a delay, then that's a possibility. But fingers crossed, he gets the all clear soon.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? But that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping in the next few weeks to a month, he says, "Yeah, I'm good to go." Him and Cyril Gahn get rematched, and we get to see how that fight plays out because it was very entertaining while it lasted.
Yeah, that's definitely one we need a resolution to. So, but first of all,
Yeah.
health comes first. And again, man, eye stuff, like I hate it. So I feel terrible that you had to go through yours, man. And I'm just like,
Uh,
makes me
oh,
just
God.
cringe.
I'm numb to it at this
Yeah,
point.
I'm sure, sure. But man, Michael, some other things I want to ask you about, man. Of course, being the former middleweight champ and all-time great that you are, I want to get your thoughts just on the divisional landscape in 2026 of the 185-pound division because it's kind of going through, I think, a weird kind of turnover phase a little bit. I mean, a lot of different characters in the division right now, but I guess just what do you kind of make of things with Khamzat finally being on top and where we're at in the middleweight division?
Yeah, I mean, Khamzat Chimaev, I mean, he burst out the gates fighting very frequently. And then obviously the schedule of fights slowed down. So it's not surprising. But he's phenomenal. I mean, the man's undefeated. What is he now? 17, 18 and 0. And the way that he beat Dricus du Plessis was just ridiculous. You know, a lot of people were complaining about that fight. He was trying to finish the fight. I mean, he had the guy in the crucifix about 30 times, something like that. He just couldn't get it. And all the other fights that he has, I mean, he's knocking people out. He's picking them up and slamming them whilst having a conversation with Dana. I mean, the man's remarkable. The only thing that I mean, I understand you want the biggest fights. He's calling out Alex Pereira. He's
Right.
calling out John Jones. He's calling out everybody. The guy that he needs to fight is Nazardine Imavov. But he's saying that he doesn't want to fight him because, you know, they're kind of friendly and all the rest of it. Well, I get that. That's all well and good. But you know what? This sport isn't about making friends. It's about beating the best competition and taking on the number one contender. So that's the fight that needs to happen, and it wouldn't surprise me. But in terms overall, the landscape at middleweight is looking really good. I mean, you've got Imavov, you've got Fluffy Hernandez. You know, you still got Dricus du Plessis out there
Yeah.
that claims that, you know, he's going to come back and put a beat down on him. I don't know about that one. You know, we'll see. He's got a lot of work to do in the wrestling department, but I'm a huge fan of Dricus, and if anyone can do it, it'd be awesome to see him come back and get back on top.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how things kind of shake out in the next couple months and everything, especially with him finally being on top and all that. But man, Michael, it's kind of interesting for me. Like I like to do kind of those fantasy matchups in my head, right? And so I think about
Right.
kind of you in your prime against Hamzat, and I think one of your low key best attributes, and you can tell me if you think this is a higher key attribute that you had, but always had great takedown defense, but maybe more than that. I think your like get up ability and your spring off your feet, if you did get taken down, was really one of the best defensive abilities you had. Even if you got taken down, just get right back up.
Yep. Yep.
So against somebody like Hamzat, I'm just curious how your matchup would have gone, and I'm curious how you would have approached a fight with a guy like him. Not that you haven't fought great wrestlers before, obviously.
Yeah, no, no, of course. I mean, I remember, you know, I've fought a string of great wrestlers: Matt Hamill, Rashad Evans. I mean, Chael Sonnen. The list goes on. And coming from the UK, we don't have a wrestling culture, so I realized pretty quickly I was going to get taken down at some point. And over my career, my takedown defense got better, but I worked very hard on my ability to get back to my feet. And I would start all my sparring sessions on my back. And then my sparring could only really start once I got back to my feet, and I would drill it over and over and over again. And I do get quite frustrated sometimes seeing people getting held down when realistically, if you put the drilling time in, it's quite easy. If I'm honest, certainly in mixed martial arts. How would it gone against Khamzat Chimaev? I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and disrespect the champion, and
Of
Khamzat's a
course.
maniac as well. So I don't need the Chechens coming after
Yeah,
me.
I know.
But
Not to put you in a
I'm,
bad
ne-
spot.
I'm never gonna go bet against myself in a fight. You know, even now at 46 years old, I've still got it, buddy. As you know what I mean, I could still probably walk back into this sport and do very well. But I've done my time. I've got the scars. I've lost tonight. I've got two fake knees. I had three neck surgeries last year, so I'm leaving it to the young pups these days. Hamzat's incredible. I mean, the way that he just, I mean, yeah, listen, you know, Drickus went to a decision. Other than that, the man is just smoking everybody. And I think people are quick to forget that just because there were some people complaining about the control time. The fact that he controlled Dricus du Plessis for like 21 minutes, that's a wild stat in itself. And a lot of the time he was trying for chokes and crucifixes and things like that. I'm just excited to see him come back and take on Nazardine Imavov, Alex Pereira. Who cares? I don't know who it's going to be, but I just want to see him back.
Yeah, for sure, man. Exciting times indeed. So, all right, Michael. Well, last thing I'll leave you with, man, of course, it is UFC 324 fight week. So I got to get your thoughts, at least on the main event. And of course, I mean, one of the big kind of storylines around the whole main event, too, is like, where does Arman Sarukian fit into this? So, like,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on the main event and kind of what's going on with lightweight?
Yeah. I mean, listen, Paddy Pimblett, you know, he's a big star. He's undefeated in the UFC. He's worked his way up slowly but surely, beat the hell out of Michael Chandler, you know, and that kind of put him in this position. It's not going to be easy against Justin Gaethje. Just the better wrestler. He's the better boxer. He's got more experience. He's fought tougher competition, but he is older. And Paddy has less wear and tear, and he believes in himself. And the best tool that a fighter has is the mind. The mind is the most important weapon. I'm telling you, in all of sports, the mind is the most powerful. And Paddy's got a great mind and he truly believes in himself. And you know, I'm one to mock the whole conceive, believe, achieve thing, but he is that guy, you know. So it's an interesting matchup. I think it's tough stylistically, but I do think Paddy has a chance of catching him in some submission. He lost a submission to Habib. He lost a submission to Charles Oliveira. And over 5 rounds, I think Paddy's got a really good shot of catching him. But he's also got a good chance of getting knocked out cold like Dustin Poirier did. So it's a very, very interesting matchup. I'm leaning towards Paddy Pimblett, if I'm honest, being the younger, fresher guy. Nothing to do that he's from England, nothing like
Okay.
that. It's always hilarious. Anytime I say anything like that, if they're from the
The
UK,
bias.
all of a sudden I'm biased, you know. It's like, no. Uh, it wouldn't surprise me if Gagey knocks him out cold. Paddy does leave openings. He does carry his chin a little high at times, so he's got to be careful. But he is improving in the striking department, so it's an exciting fight. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's great to have the UFC back, especially with this big card. So very, very much looking forward to it. And I was very much looking forward to chatting with you, Michael. So I appreciate it greatly, man. You're one of my all-time favorite fighters, so this really was an honor for me, watching your
Awesome,
career and then getting to
my
chat
man.
with you. So I appreciate it, man. And many, many great memories. UFC 199 for my book is the greatest MMA event of all time. So there you go. And
Yeah,
again, I can't believe it's almost 10 years ago now.
yeah, no, it's wild. It is crazy, you know, because I saw like some anniversary. When it says that every year it comes back up.
Yeah, yeah,
8 years ago today, 9 years ago today. Then it was, and soon it'll be 10 years,
yeah.
which is just insane,
It
you
does
know.
not
And
feel that
thinking
long
I'm
ago.
sitting here at 46 years old. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, well, how did this happen?
Yeah,
I'm almost 50 for crying out loud, and I still feel and think the way that I did in my 20s. I'm still waiting to mature. I'm sure my wife feels the same way.
right.
I'm sure the UFC feels the same way. They're like, Bisping, get it together. But thank you very much. Pleasure talking to you, and thank you for the kind words.
Of course, man. And hey, that's what makes you you. So we don't need to grow up anytime soon. And
Hey,
yeah,
people back home of the small town from where I'm from, they're like, he's changed. I'm like, mate, I wish I could change. This is me, and you're stuck with me. So
of
take it
course.
or leave it.
Yes, of course, man. And Michael, of course, I hope your dad's doing better too. So I want to leave you on that note. Of course, never fun to deal with stuff
Yeah,
like that. But
yeah, no, he is. He is. He's actually out of hospital now, so that's
okay, great.
phenomenal. So thank you
Yeah.
very much. Yeah, you know, he was a lifetime smoker, got
Mhm.
COPD because of that, developed pneumonia. He's not a young man, you know,
Yeah.
and in the past, because we were always like, Dad, you got to stop smoking. And he's like, I've lived my life. I've lived my life. You know, I'm like, Dad, you've got grandchildren,
Yeah.
you know. Um, but this time, I think it scared him. And he's for now, he said, I've stopped smoking and, you know, hopefully he sticks to it. But yeah, he's out and he looks pretty good. But it was touch and go there for a few days. So I appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Of course, man. Of course, that is great to
Awesome.
hear. So, all right, Michael. Well, let's get on with the rest of your day, and hope you enjoy the week back in the UFC swing. So,
My
take care,
man, my
man.
man. Well, nice work. Well done. Great talking to you.
All right, appreciate you, Michael. Take care.